George Herbert Walker, born 1875, founded G.H. Walker & Co. banking and investment firm in 1900, which became a successful financial institution. He was also a member of the Chamber of Commerce of the United States. During World War I, Walker was appointed by President Woodrow Wilson to serve on the War Industries Board in 1918. The War Industries Board was responsible for coordinating war production and procurement. Walker held an advisory role and consulted with government agencies, especially on matters related to finance, trade, and industries. Prescott Bush was born 1895. He was an investment banker. He married George Herbert Walker's daughter, Dorothy Walker, in 1921. She was born in 1901. Prescott Bush's involvement with an American finance company called the Union Banking Corporation was a director and shareholder of UBC, a banking entity based in New York that had ties to Nazi Germany through its parent company, Thyssen and Flick, which supported and helped to bring the Nazi regime to power in the 1930s. In 1942, the U.S. government seized UBC under the Trading with the Enemy Act due to its associations with Axis powers during World War II. The assets of UBC were placed under the Office of Alien Property Custodian. Critics alleged that Prescott Bush and others profited from their involvement with UBC and its connections to Nazi Germany. After the war, the U.S. government investigated UBC and similar companies. In 1951, the government released the assets of UBC and related entities back to their owners, as it was believed that the circumstances leading to their seizure were no longer applicable. It's crucial to clarify that Prescott Bush was never actually charged with any crime related to these associations. His involvement was more as a banker and executive at Brown Brothers Harriman & Co., a firm that did business with various entities. The controversy largely surrounds his indirect association with questionable activities due to his role at UBC. George Herbert Walker Bush, often referred to as George H.W. Bush, was the son of Prescott Bush. His World War II service started in 1942 and ended in 1945. George H.W. Bush enlisted in the U.S. Navy on his 18th birthday in 1942, becoming a naval aviator. Ironically, even though his father, Prescott Bush, had business dealings to Thyssen and Flick, who were supporting Hitler through their business connections. He flew combat missions in the Pacific during World War II and was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for his service. After World War II, George H.W. Bush attended Yale University, where he earned a degree in economics. He then moved to Texas and entered the oil business, eventually founding the Zapata Offshore Company. There are claims and theories suggesting that Bush had ties to the CIA and may have been involved, directly or indirectly, in the CIA's operations, including the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961 during Kennedy's presidency. Bush's connection to the CIA has been a subject of historical discussion, particularly due to his association with the Zapata Offshore Company, which some researchers have linked to alleged CIA operations. Bush's political career began when he was elected as chairman of the Harris County Republican Party in Texas in 1963. In 1966, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, representing Texas's 7th Congressional District. Later, President Richard Nixon appointed Bush as the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations in 1971, a role he held until 1973. Bush was appointed as chairman of the Republican National Committee from 1973 to 1974. President Gerald Ford appointed Bush as the chief of the U.S. Liaison Office in the People's Republic of China, serving from 1974 to 1975. Bush was appointed as the Director of Central Intelligence by President Ford and served from January 1976 to January 1977. In 1980, he was Ronald Reagan's running mate and was elected as vice president. In 1988, he won the presidency. During the 1988 presidential campaign, there were debates between Bush and Michael Dukakis, where Bush referenced the need for a kinder, gentler nation, which was seen as a contrast to the Kennedy era and an attempt to distance himself from Reagan's policies. Bush was the 41st President of the United States, serving from 1989 to 1993. His presidency saw notable events like the end of the Cold War and the beginning of the Persian Gulf War. George W. Bush, born 1946, George Walker Bush is the eldest son of George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush. He served as the 43rd President of the United States from 2001 to 2009. Prior to his presidency, he was the governor of Texas. George W. Bush is an American politician who served as the 43rd President of the United States from 2001 to 2009. He grew up in Texas and attended prestigious schools such as Phillips Academy and Yale University. He earned a bachelor's degree in history from Yale in 1968 and then completed a master's degree in business administration from Harvard Business School in 1975. After graduating from Harvard, Bush worked in the oil and gas industry. He co-founded Arbusto Energy, which later merged with Spectrum 7. This venture faced challenges, and Bush eventually sold the company. He later became managing partner of the Texas Rangers baseball team and was instrumental in the construction of the team's new stadium. Governor of Texas, 1995 to 2000. George W. Bush was elected as the governor of Texas in 1994 and was re-elected in 1998. During his tenure, he focused on education reform, tax cuts, and healthcare reforms, showcasing a conservative political agenda. In 2000, Bush won the Republican presidential nomination and ran against Vice President Al Gore. After a controversial election and a Supreme Court decision, Bush won the presidency. His presidency focused on issues such as tax cuts, education reform, No Child Left Behind Act, and foreign policy, notably the War on Terror, launched after the 9/11 attacks. Second term and legacy. Bush was re-elected in 2004, and his second term was marked by challenges, including the Iraq War and the so-called weapons of mass destruction, and a less than impressive response to the Hurricane Katrina disaster in the U.S. His presidency was also characterized by the implementation of the Medicare Modernization Act and efforts to reform immigration policies. After leaving office in 2009, Bush largely withdrew from public life and focused on writing his memoir, Decision Points, and engaging in philanthropic work. He has been involved in various humanitarian efforts and initiatives, including supporting military veterans and promoting healthcare in Africa. George W. Bush's presidency was a consequential period in American history, notably marked by the September 11th attacks and its aftermath.